Your NLB 3699-100-15A and 3699-50-15A SpinJets are designed to provide hundreds of hours of trouble-free operation. But, from time to time, there will be some basic maintenance items that will need to be addressed. If your SpinJet will not make pressure, there are three main areas that we need to inspect. One is the nozzles themselves. Next are the O-rings that sit between the paddles and the central nozzle block. The third is the high-pressure seal in the air radial motor. Let's begin with the high-pressure seal. Inspect the weep holes in the air radial seal body located directly below the high-pressure water inlet. If there is an excessive amount of water exiting these weep holes, then the high-pressure seal must be changed. To begin the process of changing the high-pressure seal, first loosen the high-pressure hose connection at the dump valve. Next, remove the same hose from the air radial seal. It can be helpful to place one hand on the middle of the hose and arch it out in order to provide the clearance necessary to remove the fitting from the seal. With the hose removed, we can now remove the fasteners that hold the cap. Once all the fasteners are removed, you can remove the cap. Take care to lift the cap straight up so that it does not bind on the seal housing. With it removed, you can see the end of the high pressure shaft and the brass backup ring, which supports the high pressure seal. Remove the backup ring by simply lifting it off the shaft. Sometimes the backup ring may remain in the cap when it's removed. If it does, you can use a standard 6/32 screw and thread it into one of the two holes. The backup ring can then be removed. Use a clean rag to remove any debris from the top of the housing and from the high pressure shaft. Now feel the shaft for any remnants of the high pressure seal or for any grooves. A Scotch-Brite pad can be used to polish the shaft. Now, once again, use a clean rag to clean the shaft. Inspect the backup ring. There will probably be some of the seal material located in the ID. This is okay. You can typically use one backup ring for every 3 high-pressure seals. We can now remove the high-pressure seal by using the BM8125 seal extraction tool or a suitable brass hook. Use a clean rag to remove any debris from the areas where the backup ring and the high-pressure seal sit. Locate your new high-pressure seal and place it into position with the tapered portion facing up. Use the backup ring to push the seal into position. Once the seal is pressed into position, remove the backup ring and coat it as shown with grease. This will hold it in place when you turn the cap back over to place it onto the housing. Take care not to get grease on the inner portion. Place the backup ring back onto the cap and then wipe off the outer portion of the cap. Place a small amount of grease on the O-ring that is installed on the cap. Now reinstall the cap, taking care to orientate the high pressure inlet so that the high pressure hose can be reinstalled. Make sure the cap slides down straight over the shaft and ensure that all the holes are aligned for the reinstallation of the fasteners. Now, push down. Apply anti-seize to all the fasteners and then reinstall them as shown, torquing them to approximately 75 foot-pounds of torque. Clean out the port where the high-pressure hose will reattach, and clean off the end of the high-pressure hose. Ensure that the collar is tightened enough so that 2 threads are showing. Apply anti-seize, and then reinstall the hose into the housing. Finally, tighten the hose at the dump valve. This completes the procedure for changing the high-pressure seal. Another common cause for low system pressure is a worn or damaged nozzle. To determine if this is your issue, first, disconnect the air line from the air radial seal. Next, turn the SpinJet on its side. Reduce the system pressure to around 1000 psi and actuate the dump valve. You can now visually inspect the nozzles. You can see that in this example, the nozzle on the right has failed as evidenced by the fact that the jet is not cohesive as it exits the orifice. Any nozzle that looks like this should be changed. Another possible reason for low system pressure is a failed O-ring. If there is no water leaking from the weep holes on the high pressure seal, and if all the nozzles are in good shape, this may very well be the issue. The O-rings in question are located between the center hub of the nozzle assembly and the 2 paddles that sit on opposite sides of it. The first step in replacing these O-rings is to remove the guard as shown. Use an Allen wrench to remove the 4 fasteners that hold the paddles on, along with the 2 brackets. With the fasteners and brackets removed, you can now lift the paddle off of the hub. This provides access to the O-ring inside the hub. Use your fingers to remove the old O-ring. Here you can see the O-ring has failed as evidenced by the fact that it is cut. Use your finger to cover the high-pressure water passage, and then use a clean rag to wipe out the area where the paddle installs onto the hub. Next, inspect the area where the high-pressure seal installs. Once again, use a clean rag to remove any debris. Place a light film of grease on the new O-ring, and then place it in the hub. Use a rag to clean the fasteners that hold the paddles onto the hub. Then, clean the portion of the paddle that mates with the hub. Now set the paddle in place. Place anti-seize onto the fasteners that hold the paddles onto the hub. Now place 1 set of the fasteners and bracket on the paddle. Note that the flat portion of the bracket sits towards the outside. Use an Allen wrench to lightly tighten the fasteners. Next, visually align the paddle with the one opposite of it. Once the paddle is properly aligned, you can finish tightening the fasteners. Inspect the joint between the paddle and the hub to ensure that there is a uniform space. And finally, reinstall the guards. This completes the procedure for changing the paddle O-rings.